You're sitting still. Nothing is happening. No notification, no task, no sound pulling at your attention, just you and a stretch of empty time. And within seconds, something rises in you. A restlessness, an itch you can't quite locate, a feeling so uncomfortable that you'll do almost anything to make it stop. That feeling is boredom. And you've been told your whole life that it's a problem to solve. But what if it isn't? What if boredom is not a malfunction, not a waste, not a signal that something is wrong with your environment or your brain? What if it is one of the most sophisticated and important feelings your mind has ever developed? What if the discomfort you feel right now, in the absence of stimulation, is actually evolution doing something remarkable? The answer changes everything you think you know about your own attention. Start with what boredom actually is, not the casual version, the mild restlessness of a slow afternoon, the real thing. Psychologist John Eastwood at York University spent years trying to pin down an exact definition, and what he landed on was this: boredom is the frustrated desire for satisfying engagement, not the absence of things to do, not laziness, not emptiness. It is the active, urgent want of your mind to find something worth doing, and the sharp discomfort of not finding it. That definition matters, because it reframes the entire experience. Boredom is not your brain going quiet. It is your brain screaming that it needs more. It is a drive state, like hunger or thirst, but pointed not at food or water, but at meaning, at purpose, at engagement that feels like it matters. And drive states, in evolutionary terms, exist for a reason. Think about hunger. Hunger does not exist to punish you. It exists because an animal that felt no hunger would stop eating and eventually die. The discomfort of hunger is a survival signal, designed to push you toward the behavior that keeps you alive. Thirst works the same way. Pain works the same way. Every unpleasant feeling your body produces has at its root a function. It is pushing you somewhere. It is pointing at something you need. Boredom is the same. And the behavior it is pushing you toward is one of the most uniquely human capacities that exists: imagination. Researcher Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran a series of experiments that have become some of the most discussed in modern psychology. She asked participants to perform deliberately tedious tasks, copying numbers from a telephone directory for extended periods, before testing their creative output. The results were striking. Participants who had been bored produced significantly more creative responses than those who had not. And in a follow-up study, participants who were allowed to daydream during the boring task scored even higher. The boredom was not blocking creativity, it was generating it. Your brain, when deprived of external stimulation, does not switch off. It switches inward. The default mode network, a set of brain regions that activates precisely when you are not focused on an external task, lights up during boredom and daydreaming. This network is associated with self-reflection, future planning, perspective-taking, and the kind of spontaneous associative thinking that produces new ideas. It is the network that fires when you are in the shower and suddenly solve a problem you have been stuck on for days. It is the network that produces the unexpected connection, the creative leap, the moment of genuine insight. Boredom is the doorway to that network, and every time you pull out your phone to escape the restlessness, you close the door. Now think about what this means across history. For the vast majority of human existence, boredom was unavoidable. Your ancestors had no screens, no endless scroll, no on-demand stimulation available at the touch of a glass rectangle. There were long, empty stretches of time, waiting for prey, resting between tasks, sitting by a fire after dark with nothing new to process. And in those stretches, their minds wandered. They imagined, they planned, they invented. Anthropologist and archaeologist researchers studying early human creativity, including work by April Noel on the cognitive origins of art, have pointed to the explosion of symbolic thought, cave paintings, carved figurines, musical instruments that began emerging roughly 50,000 years ago. Something changed in the human mind. Something allowed it to reach beyond the immediate, to represent the absent, to imagine what was not there. The precise trigger is debated, but the capacity for deep, unstructured, inward-directed thought, exactly the kind that boredom forces, sits at the heart of every theory. You are the descendant of minds that use their empty time to build the foundations of human culture. But here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The average person now checks their phone over 90 times a day. The average time between picking up a device and the first moment of boredom occurring has been measured in studies at less than a minute. The average American spends over 11 hours per day consuming media of some kind. Every pocket of empty time, every gap between tasks, every quiet moment that might have once stretched into daydream or reflection is now filled. Immediately, automatically, without thought. The boredom never has a chance to complete its function, and the consequences show up in ways you might not connect to this. Difficulty generating original ideas, a nagging sense of purposelessness that no amount of content quite fixes, the strange exhaustion of a day spent consuming everything and producing nothing. Psychologist Danielle Fallman has linked chronic boredom avoidance to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and a loss of what researchers call self-continuity, the felt sense of a coherent self with a direction, a past, and a meaningful future. The boredom was supposed to push you towards something. When you never let it build, you never get the push. This is not an argument against technology. It is not a call to throw away your phone or sit in an empty room staring at walls. It is something more precise than that. It is the recognition that boredom, real boredom, the kind that makes you want to crawl out of your skin, is doing something. It is telling you that your mind is ready. Ready to generate, not consume. Ready to build, not scroll. Ready to find something that actually matters to it if you would only stop filling the space long enough for it to look. The restlessness is not the problem. The restlessness is the signal. So the next time you reach for your phone because a moment has gone quiet, pause. Just for a second. Notice what the feeling actually is. Not an enemy, not a glitch. An ancient, sophisticated, beautifully designed push from a mind that has somewhere it wants to go. You're sitting still. Nothing is happening. And somewhere underneath the discomfort, your brain is getting ready to do something remarkable.